Saturday morning, everyone.
Morning.
Most faces are familiar from me from Thursdays, but if you are new to me, I usually teach on Thursdays, but I will be filling in for some of Megan's classes for the next few months, along with another teacher. So let me go ahead and playing with my Zoom. I think you can always tell when I'm looking at the computer and trying to figure things out. So let me go ahead and mute everyone. It looks like you guys are all muted already. If you want to turn your cameras off or whatever, you can. You don't have to. Some people don't, but I always suggest it if you want. So once you're all set up, go ahead and start to settle into that space that you like to begin your class in. So I always suggest lying on my back. That's where I like to start my classes. I think that's where a lot of people gravitate towards, but if that's not you, that's okay. I have one woman who it doesn't feel comfortable on her back, so she starts in a seated position, her legs crossed, her eyes closed, sitting up. So find a spot that feels comfortable for you and let that be where you begin your practice this morning. So as you start to settle in, close your eyes. Start to slow down your breath a little bit. I usually teach classes in the evening, and I think there's a whole different energy in the morning versus the evening, and they're both great, and I love it all. So it's exciting to be teaching some morning classes because now we're not getting ready for bed, we're getting ready for our day. So maybe that changes the intention that you're setting a little bit. We're at the beginning of the weekend. Maybe your intention is going to be to move more, to be a little lighter, to be a little more relaxed, a little more flexible, to let go of something. So as you are settling in right now, as you are slowing down that breath, go ahead and start to think about that intention that you want to set for yourself. And we're just going to take a few more breaths before we start to move. So following that breath, slowing it down, feeling it move through the body. And then on the next inhale, you're going to slowly start to find a full body stretch. So your arms will reach overhead, your legs will extend. If you weren't already on your back, you can start to make your way onto your back now. Maybe if your legs bent, you're straightening them, you're rolling out your wrists, rolling out your ankles. Sometimes I like to move from side to side a little bit to kind of reach the left fingertips and the left toes, and then reach the right fingertips and the right toes in the opposite direction. You get that nice little stretch on the side of the body. And then on the next inhale, the knees are going to start to draw in towards you. Your arms are going to wrap around your shins as you give yourself a little hug. And just move here in a way that feels comfortable. So that could be circles. Sometimes I like to circle my knees. Other times it's more of just a side-to-side rock. So see what feels comfortable for you and go ahead and move in that way. And then we're just going to bring our hands behind our thighs, and you're going to go ahead and rock yourself right up to a seated position. Taking a couple rocks forwards and backwards as you go ahead and lift yourself all the way up. Crossing the legs once you come to a seated position. Sitting up nice and tall, your hands can rest in your lap or on your knees. Take a deep breath in, sit up a little taller, and then just begin to roll out those shoulders. Each time you inhale, lift the shoulders up. Each time you exhale, let them release down the back. Go ahead and do that a couple times. Moving with your breath, starting to warm up the shoulders, the neck, the upper back. And then also doing the same thing in the other direction. Inhale as you lift them up your back. Exhale as you roll them forward. Go ahead and take a few rounds in the opposite direction. On the last one, we're going to take that deep breath in, draw the shoulders up towards the ears, hold it, create a little tightness, a little tension, the opposite of what we usually want to do. But then with a big exhale, you're going to let all that tightness, all that tension created go, and hopefully a little bit more. You can feel those shoulders relax now. And then slowly bringing your chin towards your chest. Your spine is nice and long, but your head is leaning forward. And then begin to roll that neck all the way around. Taking a couple circles here, moving at any speed, even if it's stillness. Maybe you move it in one direction and you're like, ooh, I need to take a couple of breaths here. Do that. You're moving it really slow. That's great too. Taking those circles in each direction. So if you are moving the head, make sure you take a couple one way and then a couple the other way. And then once you're feeling even on both sides, you're going to lift that head up, reach the top of the head back towards the sky. Bring your hands to your knees if they weren't there already. You get to circle the upper body, bringing that chest forward and around. Go ahead and make those circles, warming up the core, the spine, the center of the body. A couple circles in one direction and a couple circles in the other direction. And as you complete those circles, you'll start to come back through center, sitting up nice and tall. Bring the soles of your feet together. So setting up for that butterfly pose, or some people call it cobbler's pose, interlacing your hands under those toes. Take a deep breath in, lengthen the spine, and then you're going to start to fold forward, pressing your elbows into your shins, or kind of the out or the inside of your shins, I guess it is. So you're using the elbows to gently press down, but you're not pressing as hard as you can. It's just a little extra weight, a little extra pressure to give you that stretch in the inner thighs. Maybe you walk the feet a little further away from you or a little closer to you. That can change the stretch a little bit. You can start to feel it in different parts of the legs. So see where it feels comfortable for you. And then on the next inhale, we're going to lift all the way back up. We're going to extend the right leg long, bring the left foot into the right inner thigh, flex those right toes. It's almost like you're trying to point your toes back towards your body. And then on an inhale, the arms lift up. On an exhale, you'll fold forward and go ahead and just give that leg a little bit of love. That's one of the biggest differences between a class in the morning versus the evening. In the evening, you've been moving all day long. So whether you were consciously or actively stretching or not, you were still somewhat stretching because you were moving. Today, in the morning, not always the case. You may have just gotten out of bed recently or an hour ago or so, and you're still feeling a little tight. So give that leg some love, massage the back of the leg, bend the knee a little bit if you need to, whatever helps to start to loosen it up, start to warm it up so that you're able to move a little bit more freely. And then on the next inhale, we'll lift it all the way up, and we're just going to extend that left leg long, bringing the right foot into the left inner thigh, flex those left toes. Same thing as you did on the other side. As you inhale, lift the arms up. As you exhale, you'll fold it forward. And I'm putting a little bend in my knee. I generally do like to bend my knees a little bit, but especially now, my legs are feeling a little tight. So if that's you, go ahead and bend the leg, massage the back of the leg, and use that breath. And what we mean by use that breath is you're kind of visualizing sending it to any spot that's tight. So I can feel the back of my calves are a little bit tighter. So each time I exhale, I'm just visualizing those muscles relaxing and letting go. Just kind of making that a conscious decision can really help start to release any of that tightness or tension. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and lift it back up. We're going to extend both legs, making that wide V shape with your legs, flexing the toes still. Interlace your hands. We're going to start to circle the upper body. So kind of like we did when we had our hands on our knees and we were circling the upper body. But now you're bringing that movement into the legs a little bit. You can feel it in the backs of the legs, even though they're not actually moving. Taking a couple circles in each direction, maybe pausing, maybe going in any crazy shape. It doesn't have to be a circle. It can be a side to side or a back and forth. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and reach those arms up overhead. Big breath in as you exhale, start to walk the hands away from you, beginning to fold forward here. And it might not be very far. I want you to focus on keeping your back fairly straight. It doesn't have to be pin straight, but you're not rounding your back as much as you can. There's a length in that back. And those fingertips will just start to walk away from you. You continue to point your toes towards you. Take an inhale and sit up a little bit. So as you inhale, straighten that back even more. As you exhale, see if you can fold just a little bit further forward. And then we're going to start to walk our hands over to that right leg. So your hands can come to your shin or your foot, the mat, whatever feels comfortable. We're going to leave the right hand there and start to lift up the left arm. So see if you can bring those left fingertips right up towards the ceiling. Start. We're going to move the left arm, but for now we're reaching it up towards the ceiling, pressing that left shoulder open. So you're kind of getting a nice little twist, a nice little stretch. And then we're going to start to circle that left arm as big as you can, really starting to stretch out that shoulder. Couple circles in one direction, couple circles in the other. And then we're going to end by taking that left arm and reaching it towards the right toes. So kind of think about bringing that left shoulder towards your left ear, getting that length on the whole left side of the body. For some people, those really stretchy people, those gymnasts, you might have the left hand on the right toes, but for most of us, we're just sort of reaching that left hand in that direction. On the next inhale, go ahead and lift it all the way up again. And we're going to fold forward one more time. So coming right back down. Maybe you notice you're able to come a little bit further forward than you were before. Maybe you're right exactly where you were, and that's great too. This time we're going to start to walk over to the left side. So those hands are going to walk over to the left. The left hand is going to settle on the shin, the mat, around your toes. And then the right arm starts to peel up towards the sky. So first off, right fingertips are reaching straight up, as straight as you can make it. And then you'll start to circle that right arm. So same thing as you did with that left shoulder, circling the arm. If you've had any kind of shoulder injuries or anything, you might not be able to use that whole range of motion. You might be modifying a little bit, and that's okay. Just start to notice what feels comfortable and what doesn't feel so comfortable. Keep it within that comfort range. And then we'll start to take that little side bend again. So the right fingertips are going to reach towards the left toes. I want you to continue focusing on lifting up through the chest. So I mentioned some people grabbing those toes. I don't want you to compromise that opening in the heart to just get the toes. Like you could grab the toes if you lean forward like this, but I want that right shoulder pressing back. I want your heart and your chest lifted, and then the right arm is reaching. Think about looking up towards the sky under that right arm. Okay. On the next inhale, let's lift it all the way up. Bring those hands back down, kind of shake out the legs. You can sort of press your legs back together. So use those hands to press back together, tap the backs of the legs, maybe wiggle your feet from side to side. Sometimes that feels good. And then let's find our tabletop position. So coming onto our hands and our knees, go ahead and get yourself set up. The shoulders are above the wrists, the knees are below the hips, and that back is nice and flat to start. And then we'll go ahead and move through our cat and cow poses. So as you inhale, the stomach presses down and the gaze goes up. As you exhale, the back rounds, press the ground away from you. And just continue to move like that, starting to warm up that spine and connect your breath to your movement. Always having the option to add on. Some ways people might add on is you can make circles with the hips. You can move the hips from side to side, shake your head from side to side, or even press it back almost like you're pressing back to a child's pose and then kind of press it forward. It does not have to be just that up and down with the spine. Just about warming up the spine. And then on the next breath, let's extend the right leg, reach that right foot behind you. Find your balance here. And then the left arm is going to lift up. So opposite arm, opposite leg, reaching in opposite direction. And then draw the right knee towards you, draw the left elbow towards you. So you're kind of drawing everything in. And then as you exhale, extend. 2 more times, just like that. When you come in, it's almost like you're making that rounded cat back again. The back is round. Think about bringing your nose towards your knee. And extend. 1 more time. And going at a speed that feels comfortable for you. If you feel like you want to slow it down a little bit to get that stability, that's fine. You don't have to stay with me. And let's bring that left hands down to the mat. We're going to come into a modified side plank. You're going to take your left foot and kind of slide it off the mat a little bit. You're going to ground down through the inner arch of the right foot. So the inside of the right foot is coming down. And then the right fingertips are going to start to reach over your head. So you're making one straight line on that right side of the body, pressing the hips up, lengthening the side. And we'll close it off, bringing that right hand down to the mat. The right knee comes down to the mat. And shake those hips out a little bit. Left leg will lift. Go ahead and extend that left leg behind you. Right arm lifts up when you're ready. If that movement was not feeling comfortable or fun, you could also stay here. This is a balance in itself. So if this is where you want to stay for the next few breaths, that's fine as well. I didn't say that on the other side, but this is a perfectly perfect option. If you are moving on the next inhale, that left knee comes forward, the right elbow comes back. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more times with your breath. Inhale, draw it all in, round that back, give that knee a kiss. Exhale, extend it long. Last time, draw it all in. And extend it long. So the left leg is going to stay extended for a moment. The right hand is coming down to the mat. The right foot slides off. So when you're sliding that foot off, you're really just making a kickstand for yourself. You're giving yourself a little more stability. It would feel wobbly if you kept it straight. So that top of the right foot is pressing into the ground. Inner arch of the left foot comes down, and then those left fingertips start to reach forward. You're making that long line on the left side of the body this time, looking under that left arm. Press the shoulder back, lengthen through the side of the body. Big breath in, and we'll close it off. Left hand comes down, left knee comes down, tabletop for a breath. Shake it out, and then start to make your way into your downward facing dog. Tucking those toes, straightening those legs. First down dog of the class, first down dog of the day, most likely. So just settle in a little bit, move. Bend those knees, lift up those heels, and then press them back down. Rock your hips from side to side. Sometimes I'll roll over my toes, so kind of pressing the tops of my toes into the mat and then the bottoms of my toes. But it's really about doing what feels good for you. So a lot of times I'll just explain what I'm doing because that's what I like, but you're going to find things that you like, and that's what you do when you come into this pose. On the next breath, let's roll it out into a plank position, drawing your shoulders over your wrists, tucking your tailbone, engaging your core. As you exhale, send it back to your downward facing dog. We're going to do 2 more just like that. Roll it forward, plank position. Really nice flat back. That tailbone is tucking under. You want to be as straight as you can so you're not letting those hips sag, but you're also not having that bend in your back. Really nice and straight. Exhale, send it back to that downward facing dog. We'll do that one more time. We'll roll it out. Think about being a wave with that body. Nice and fluid, plank position. Exhale, send it back to down dog. Good. As you take your gaze towards your fingertips, we're going to start to walk to the top of the mat. So go ahead and take a couple steps until those feet are at the top of your mat and find that forward fold. Holding onto the back of your head or the back of your legs, elbows, or maybe just letting the arms hang. That's always an option as well. You can just kind of rock from side to side, maybe a little bend in those knees if that feels comfortable. On the next inhale, we're going to lift it all the way up. Slowly start to reach those arms overhead, a little back bend once you get here. On an exhale, we're going to dive it right back down, forward fold. Inhale, you're going to bring your hands to your shins, flatten that back. Exhale as you fold. On the next inhale, lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. One more time, just like that. Exhale, dive it back down, forward fold. Inhale, bring your hands to your shins, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. Great. We're going to take another breath in, reach those arms overhead again. Exhale, dive it down again, just like we did a moment ago. But this time you're going to put a little bend in your knees so that you can bring your hands to the mat. Step it back to your downward facing dog. So reversing what we just did. We just walked our feet up to our hands. Now we're walking them back to that downward facing dog. You're going to roll it back out into that plank position, shoulders over the wrists, tailbone tucks, core is engaged. Our knees are going to come to the mat. So think about still keeping that straightness in the back as much as you can. You're going to lower yourself all the way down onto your stomach, hugging those elbows in nice and tight. On the next breath, you're going to find your baby cobra or low cobra. So for that one, your fingertips are up off the mat. Your shoulder blades are pressing together. Your chin is probably like 2 or 3 inches off the mat. I just measured mine from my pinky to my thumb. That's about how much I'm lifted. So it's a subtle thing, but you're still feeling it in the back. Pressing those hands into the mat, we're going to come back to our downward facing dog. So you're going to kind of press yourself up, bend those knees, tuck your toes, right back to your downward facing dog. On the next breath, we'll roll it out into that plank position, tailbone tucks. Lots of planks this morning. You're getting warmed up for the day. Knees are going to come down, just like we did before. Go ahead and lower yourself all the way onto your stomach. This time you can choose what cobra you take. If you like that baby cobra, do that again. You want to add on, you're going to press your hands into the mat and start to lift yourself up a little bit. And you decide how high you're going, how high is right for you. Make sure those shoulders are relaxed. And then you'll slowly lower yourself down, back to downward facing dog, pressing those hands into the mat, hips go up and back, toes tuck, knees straighten. Good. And let's do that whole sequence one more time. Roll it out into your plank position. Tuck the tailbone, engage the core. Knees come down, lower onto the stomach. Press it up to that cobra. You choose which one. Maybe each time you get a little higher, maybe you know where you like to go and you go to that safe spot every time. And lower yourself down. This time we're going to come to a child's pose for just a few breaths. So the hands are going to press into the mat, toes together, knees apart, your hips are coming to your heels. As you settle into that child's pose, go ahead and find the shape that you like. Fingertips towards the top of the mat, hands on top of each other with your forehead on your hands, or fingertips next to your toes. Those are all great options for your child's pose. Depends on what feels most comfortable for you. So take about 3 or 4 breaths here. If you want to grab a sip of water or anything, now is a good time for that. Grab it anytime, but when we're in these resting poses, it's a good time to kind of take a break. On the next breath, your fingers are going to start to walk back towards the top of the mat if they weren't there already. Your toes are going to tuck as you make your way back into that downward facing dog. Bend those hips up and back, lengthen that spine. Looking towards your hands one more time, we're going to walk it up to the top of the mat. So go ahead and walk those feet towards those hands. Bring your hands to your shins on an inhale, flat back. On an exhale, fold. Inhale, lift it all the way up. Reach the arms up overhead. On the exhale, dive it right back down. Forward fold. Put a little bend in your knees so that you can bring your hands to the mat. Your right foot is going to stay forward. Your left leg is going to step back. So, taking my classes before, you know, I suggest getting here any way that works for you. So, if that's taking a bunch of steps back, do that. If it means bringing that back knee down first, do that. And then eventually your hands are framing out that right foot as we're in this little low lunge or a runner's lunge. Our left hand is going to stay down. As you come into a twist, the right arm is going to peel up towards the sky. Take your gaze towards that right hand. Roll the shoulder back. And then slowly bring the right hand down to the mat. Left knee comes down, untuck those toes. As you exhale, press the hips back, straighten that right leg, starting to come into our little hip flow, we'll call it, to warm up those hips. So you're folding over that right leg. On the next inhale, rebend the right knee, press those hips forward as you start to lift up through the upper body. And then you're going to move here a couple times with your breath. Press the hips back. Inhale, bend that knee, lift up through the upper body. If you have blocks, use those blocks here to bring your hands to them. Gives you a little extra height in the upper body. Take a couple more rounds just like this, warming up the hips, warming up the back of the leg. The next time you come forward, we'll come into our Crescent Lunge, Anjaneyasana. Hips press forward. You can stay right here if you're feeling a really nice deep stretch in that left hip, and this is what's giving you that best stretch. Stay here. You want to start lifting up. Your hands can come either to your knee or to the sky. Reach them up towards the ceiling. Wherever you are, try to keep that deep stretch in the left hip. So when I'm down here, when I have my hands on the mat, it doesn't, my lower half doesn't change. I have my hands down and then I'll stand with my arms up. My legs are staying here. Notice that as you lift up, all of a sudden you start kind of re-bend or pressing back a little bit. Maybe bring the hands back to the knee so that you can keep that deeper stretch in the left hip, because that's really what we want to get here. And then the hands come back to frame out that right foot. Left toes tuck as you straighten that back leg. We're going to, let's do one more little funky transition here. We're going to start to walk our hands over to the left side. You're coming to a wide-legged fold on the left side of your mat. So you're kind of pivoting on the ball of that left foot, spinning the right foot so that both toes are facing the left side of your mat. And you're just going to find a fold here, any fold that feels comfortable for you. Sometimes I like to rock from side to side a little bit. Walk your hands over to one leg and then the other leg. And then, of course, stillness is always an option as well. Just take about 2 or 3 breaths here, moving however you like, or not moving if that's what you like. On the next breath, we're going to walk our hands back over to the right side. So you're sort of reversing what you just did. You're bringing those right toes back to face the top of the mat. You're spinning back to the ball of that left foot. So we're in that runner's lunge, that low lunge again. We're going to step back to the top of the mat. So same way as you got here, maybe that means taking a couple steps, eventually finding that forward fold. Hands come to shins as you inhale, halfway lift. Exhale as you fold. Inhale as you lift it all the way up. On the exhale, we'll dive it right back down, forward fold. Little bend in those knees as your fingertips come to the mat. This time the left foot is going to stay forward. That right foot is stepping to the back. You kind of slide the foot back a little bit if that helps get it where it needs to go, or you can sort of use your hand to adjust that left foot, whatever works for you. That is correct. Right hand comes down. We're going to find that twist, lifting the left arm up towards the sky. Press that left shoulder open. Think about lifting up your heart and the center of your chest towards the sky. Reach those fingertips directly up to the ceiling. Nice deep breath in here. Left hand is going to come back down to the mat. Right knee comes down. Untuck those toes. On the next exhale, straighten that left leg, folding over that left leg, preparing to warm up those hips a little bit with that movement. So on the next breath, that left knee bends, the hips press forward, the upper body lifts up a little bit. And exhale, send it back. A couple more times just like that. Inhale, press the hips forward, bend that left knee, look up, or not even up, but forward. Exhale, send it back. Moving with your breath a couple more times. When you come forward, we'll start to settle into stillness in that hip opener. So same choices as the other side. Maybe that means just staying here, but not moving. So staying right here, working on that hip. Other options would be hands to the knee or hands up towards the sky. And take 3 breaths here. Each time you inhale, think about kind of lengthening the upper body. Each time you exhale, see if you can sink a little deeper into those hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, settle. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, settle. Hands come back to frame out that left foot. Your right toes will tuck, straighten that back leg. Wide-legged fold again, this time to the right side. So you're gonna start to walk your hands over to the right side, spinning those toes so that they're facing the right side of your mat until you're in that wide-legged fold, and taking any movement that feels good on this side. And it might be exactly the same thing as you did on the other side, or maybe you want to try something different. Walk your hands really far away from you, out in front of you, or even to the side. You kind of play around with walking your hands to the right, walking your hands to the left, walking your hands behind you, kind of drawing the top of your head towards the mat. As always, I make a lot of suggestions, so play and see what feels right for you. 2 more breaths here. On the next breath, we're all going to start to walk our hands back over to that left foot. So coming to that low lunge at the top of your mat. Again, you kind of spin the left toes forward, spin onto the ball of the right foot. We'll come back to standing at the top of the mat, however you like to get there. Start to step that right foot forward. Eventually, taking that inhale, nice flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift it all the way up. Come to standing. Maybe that little back bend if that still feels comfortable. Hands come to heart center as you exhale. Let it all go. We're gonna come into a balance. So you always have the choice to step off of your mat if that helps, or step towards the wall, grab a chair, whatever can help you find a little more stability in that balance. We're gonna come into a dancer pose today. So if you're using a wall or a chair, it's gonna be on your right side. Your right foot is gonna be your standing leg. You're gonna lift that right arm up towards the sky. And then you're gonna take the left foot in the left hand. And you're balancing. So staying right here, if this feels good, if this is the level of challenge that you need today, then this is what you're gonna do. If you want to add on, you're gonna start to kick that left foot away from you. Reach the fingertips forward. I remember someone had mentioned that getting the foot was challenging. So if anyone has a strap at home, and if you don't, it's okay, but I'll suggest it since we're here. You can wrap that strap around your foot. It could even be a belt or a rope. So kind of bringing the foot a little closer to you. I'm not sure if you can see it with the shadows, but basically you're holding onto the strap instead of your foot. So I just wanted to give you that option. For all of those of you who've been standing here this whole time, we'll slowly start to come out of it. Go ahead and bring that left foot back down to the mat, shake it out. So maybe you don't use that strap right now, but in the future, you have that close by, or even watch the repeat of this and use it. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Left foot is going to be our standing leg. Reach that left arm overhead, and then you're going to either take the right foot in your right hand or wrap that strap around your right foot and hold on to the strap. You are balancing, you are on one foot, so either continue to focus on this or start to kick that right foot away from you, and almost like a seesaw, as that back foot kicks back, the upper body starts to reach forward. You have that wall to your left. Maybe you have your hand on the wall or your shoulder on the wall, or you just have it close enough to you that you can put your hand on it should you need it. Sometimes that peace of mind is all we need. Slowly starting to lift it all the way back up. Right foot comes down, left hand comes down, shake it all out. Gonna shake out that standing leg. We roll out the shoulders, whatever feels good for you. And just resetting. We're gonna bring our feet about a little wider than your hips. So if you're on the short side of your mat, maybe about mat's width distance apart, On the inhale, the arms are going to lift up overhead. On the exhale, you'll fold it forward. You're going to put a little bend in that left knee. Bring your left fingertips in front of your left toes. Right arm is going to lift up. So another twist. We've twisted a couple different ways already. This is yet another way that we can twist. Twists are so beneficial. You're looking up towards that right arm. You can stay here, or if you want to take it a step further, that right hand can come behind the body towards the left hip. So kind of called a half bind. You're kind of, I don't know, twisting or binding that arm behind the body, bending the right elbow, still looking up. So you're looking up towards the sky over that right shoulder. If you had that arm bent, go ahead and re-extend the right arm up towards the sky. And then we're going to slowly place that right hand down in front of the right toes, put a little bend in the right knee. On the next inhale, the left arm lifts up. Roll that shoulder back, take your gaze towards the left hand. If you took that half bind, you can do it again, bending the left elbow, bringing the left hand towards the right hip. Kind of just reaching behind the body, but you're still getting that twist. Left shoulder is still pressing back. Gaze is still up towards the sky. Go ahead and unravel that if you had the arm bent. Left fingertips reach up towards the sky. And then that left hand is going to come back down to the mat. And we'll lift it all the way back up. On an inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Step it back to the top of your mat if you weren't there already. You might have already been there. I was not. We're going to keep our right foot forward and step your left foot back, setting yourself up for a warrior one. So the left foot is stepping back almost the length of your mat, depending on how big your mat is. Your right toes are facing forward. That back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Your hips are facing forward. As you inhale, you'll lift those arms up. As you exhale, you'll bend into that right knee, warrior one. So think about pressing down to the outer edge of that left foot, pressing that left hip forward so that the hips are squared off. The right one naturally wants to be in the front. You want to do what you can to have them in a line. See if you can bend into that right knee a little bit more. Lengthen those arms up towards the sky a little bit more. And let's open it up to a warrior two. Right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back. Dial that left heel in a little bit so that that back foot is parallel to the back of your mat. Arms are strong. See if you can bend into that right knee just a little bit more. Feel that energy at the fingertips. So you're reaching forward with the right hand and you're also reaching back with the left arm. And then let's go ahead and straighten that right leg. We're going to do the exact same thing to the back of the mat. So you're going to turn those left toes to face the back of your mat. The right foot is now at a 45-degree angle. Your hips are facing the back, which is now the front. As you inhale, the arms lift up. As you exhale, bend into that left knee. So the left leg is the front leg. We're pressing down to the outer edge of that right foot. Lengthening through the sides of the body, bending into that left knee. Pressing that right hip forward. Now the right one is the one that wants to be in the back. So see if you can adjust those hips just a little bit. And we'll find our warrior two. Left fingertips reach forward, right fingertips reach back. That right heel dials in a little bit. Typically, I don't know if typically, but for me, I seem to settle into this one a little bit more. I come a little deeper. So see if you can, maybe just because you were a little higher in your warrior one, check yourself, see if you can come a little lower now. And maybe that's different for people. Maybe that's just me. Maybe for you, it was the opposite. But what I mean is just check in, see if you can come a little further in whichever pose you're in. And we'll go ahead and straighten that left leg. You can turn your left toes to face the side of your mat, bring your arms back down, and then just go ahead and kind of step it back. So take a couple steps until you're not in that wide stance anymore. Make your way back to the top of your mat. On an inhale, we'll reach those arms up overhead. As you exhale, we're going to fold it forward. Put a little bend in your knees. And we're going to do something a little different. We're going to come onto your tiptoes. So you're lifting your heels up off the mat and you're lowering yourself down. So you're on your tiptoes here. We're getting a little stretch in the backs of the feet. And we're also going to turn it into a balance. So maybe one hand comes to heart center. Maybe both hands come to heart center. Maybe no hands do. Maybe you're keeping those fingertips on the mat. Maybe you just have one fingertip on each side, or you play around with lifting your hand for a second and then putting it back down. But just see how it feels. It's a balance. It's also a stretch in the bottoms of the feet. So that could make it a little more challenging for some people. But if you have those hands at the heart center, if you can hold it for a breath or two. And then we're all going to bring our hands down to the mat. You're going to bring your knees down to the mat, but you're going to keep those toes tucked for another breath or two. And now we're really getting into the backs of those feet. So same options. If it feels best to keep your hands on the mat, go ahead and keep your hands on your mat. If you want to try to start to lift up, you can kind of keep one hand down and lift one hand to heart center. Maybe both hands lift up and you sit up a little straighter. But this is a lot on the feet. So check in with yourself, see how those feet are doing, ask them what they need. Maybe you lift up for a second and then you put your hands back down. Let's all take 2 more breaths here. And bring those hands back down to the mat. You're gonna untuck your toes, tap the tops of your feet on the mat. So kind of just sort of tap on, rock the heels from side to side, give them a break. That should feel really good after all of that. And while we're here, let's find our way back into our tabletop position. So kind of walk those hands out in front of you or walk those knees a little bit further behind you, depending on where you are on your mat. And we'll move through a couple more rounds of that cat and cow. Press the hips down, press the stomach down, take the knees up, round the back. And just kind of moving in any way that feels good. From your tabletop, let's find that downward facing dog again. So those toes are tucking, those legs are straightening, hips are sending up and back. This might feel good on your feet, or maybe your feet are like, no, this is too much. So maybe stretch them out a little bit, rock them out. We're gonna take that flow one more time, rolling it out into your plank position. Knees come down, tailbone tucks under, lowering yourself all the way onto your stomach. As you inhale, find the Cobra that feels right for you. Maybe you're still pressing yourself up. Maybe at this point you want to take it down a little further. We're starting to come towards the end of class, so sometimes taking it down a notch is exactly what you need. From here, back to that child's pose. Hands pressed into the mat, toes together, knees apart. Find your child's pose. Take a sip of water. Take a break. Come back to your breath. Come back to the intention that you set. From our child's pose, we're just going to come up to a seat. So you can start to walk those hands towards you, press the upper body up, and then come down onto your hips with your legs extended long. So just kind of shift those feet so that they're not behind you anymore, they're in front of you. And you can slide yourself back to the top of your mat if you were at the back. Nice straight legs, flex those toes as you inhale, reach the arms up overhead. As you exhale, fold it forward. Maybe there's that bend in the knees still. Maybe at this point your legs are a little straighter, whatever feels comfortable for you. I like to either interlace my peace fingers around my big toes or just kind of rest my hands on my shins. Your hands can be on the mat as well. Let's all take an inhale and lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, see if you can fold a little bit further. Slowly starting to lift it all the way up. We're going to come into a twist. So the left foot is going to come to the outside of the right knee. Taking that left foot and kind of just crossing it over the right leg. Left hand is going to come to the side of the body. Inhale, your right arm lifts up towards the sky. As you exhale, we're twisting to the left, hooking the right elbow on the outside of the left knee. Once you have that hook, press the elbow into the knee to help twist a little bit more. So kind of using that connection with the elbow and the knee to deepen that twist. Focusing on two things here, focusing on twisting, but also lengthening the spine. So if you notice you're kind of leaning forward a little bit, see if you can adjust that spine to nice and straight. And then we're going to come back through center and all the way to the right side for just a breath. You can either bring your hands to the mat or you can press the left elbow into the knee, whatever feels good, just to kind of counter that twist or reverse that twist a little bit. And then as you come back through center, both legs will extend long and we'll take it to the other side. So the right foot is crossing over the left leg. My foot is right by the outside of my left knee. The right hand comes to the side of the body, and as you inhale, the left arm lifts up. As you exhale, twist to the right this time. The left elbow is pressing into the outside of the right knee. Thinking about that length in the spine, thinking about that twist. Imagining the spine starting to twist all the way from the base of the spine, got your hips to your tailbone, and then twisting all the way up. When I visualize that, it helps me not just turn my head as far as I can. Look way behind ourselves with our necks, but that's not really getting that twist in the whole spine. So imagine the whole spine twisting. And we'll take it over to the other side. So coming to the left, you can either bring both hands to the mat and kind of unravel that twist or press the right elbow into the knee, sort of twist it out, whatever feels good for you. And come back through center, extend your legs long, tap the backs of your legs on the mat. We're going to start to take it down. So if you like to have anything near you when you end your practice, like socks or sweaters or blankets or water, all that kind of stuff, go ahead and grab that, collect that so it's right by you, easy to grab. And then you're going to extend your arms long and one vertebrae at a time. Start to lower yourself all the way onto your mat, taking another full body stretch, just like we did at the beginning of class. Take a moment here, maybe just like you did before, you're moving from side to side a little bit. You're wiggling out the fingers, you're wiggling out the toes. Kind of fun to do the same pose at the beginning and the end of class because you really get to see where you're at, where you've changed. Maybe you feel more open, maybe you feel more tired. It doesn't matter. It's just fun to compare. And then slowly bringing your hands to the sides of the body. We're going to set up for a back bend by bringing the feet to the base of the spine. Your knees are bent. Your hands are at the sides of the body. And as you inhale, those hips will start to press up towards the sky. Your hands have two options. They can either continue to press into the mat, or you can start to sort of wiggle your shoulders under the body a little bit more, and then interlace your hands under your tailbone. So you kind of decide what is the right pose for you this morning. Wherever you are, whether you have those hands interlaced or pressing into the mat, your hips are pressing up, your chin is tucking into your chest, and you're getting that nice bend in the spine. And slowly, one vertebrae at a time, that spine will peel back down onto the mat. Once your tailbone touches, just let your knees rock from side to side. I always think this is like little windshield wipers on a car. And then coming back through center, we're going to make our way into an inversion. So if you like to use the wall for your inversion, go ahead and slide over to the wall. You're just going to extend your legs right up the wall. If you want to do it without the wall, you can start to make your way into it right where you are by pressing your feet up towards the sky, imagining there's that wall behind your legs. You can have your hands either behind the thighs, or you can sit on your hips. That'll make it feel a little more comfortable. If you have a block, you can also put that block under your hips. That'll give you a little more elevation, a little more height. all just different options to help you feel the most comfortable in this inversion. We're going to hold it for about 7 of your own breaths. So I never really know when people come into poses when we're virtual. So I always try to give you the option. So you come into it when you're ready. You count those 7 breaths on your own time, taking as much time as you need. If you ever feel like you want to be in a pose longer than I have you, and especially now at the end of class, do that. So you decide, really. So if you're done with this pose, you can slowly start to come out of it. But same goes for if you want a little more time, feel free to hang out here, especially if you have the legs up the wall. Keep them up the wall for the rest of class. If you're coming out of it, or when you're coming out of it, your knees will start to draw in towards you. And you can just make those circles, just like we did at the beginning of class, sort of circling the knees in one direction, circling them in the other, or maybe even just rocking from side to side if that feels the most comfortable for you. We're going to extend our arms wide to either side, big T shape with the arms, and then the knees will release over to the right as you settle into a twist. So think about pressing both shoulders down into the mat. That left shoulder might be lifting up. See if you can press it down. Maybe you bring a hand to that left thigh and kind of massage it or sort of work out any tightness. You're looking either towards the sky or off to the left, so away from the knees. Your eyes can be closed, so maybe you're not looking at anything at all right now. And then slowly starting to bring those knees back through center. We're just going to gently take it over to the other side. So gently letting those legs release to the left, taking the gaze towards the right if you were looking towards the left before. If your eyes aren't closed, maybe you're just beginning to let everything become a little blurry and out of focus. So you're not really looking at anything. You're just kind of staring, but not seeing. That makes sense. Slowly beginning to draw those knees back through center for the last time. Your feet are on the mat, your knees are bent. Take this time now before we come into our final pose to just check in with yourself. One last check-in. What do you still need? If it's a pose, sometimes you might need one last thing, one last little twist or stretch to feel really comfortable. Do that now. Maybe there's that one pose you love and we didn't do it today, so you want to do it now. Go for it. When you're ready, you'll start to find that final pose that you want to end your practice in. And it could be right here. This is a great Shavasana. If you're staying here, I recommend bringing your feet a little wider, letting your knees lean in towards each other. You can rest your hands on your stomach or at the sides of your body. From here, you can also straighten your legs if that feels comfortable for you, taking up a lot of space, maybe making those feet a little wider, making your arms a little wider out to either side. You can turn on to your side. You can come back to that seat. Does not matter. Just let it be comfortable for you. Just like I said at the beginning of class, that first pose and that last pose are for you to find the space that feels just right for you. So once you've found that shape, let your eyes close if they're not already. Let your breath start to just return to its normal rhythm. Throughout the class, I'm prompting you to inhale and exhale, but now I want you to just let all of that go and just breathe freely without paying attention to it. Beginning to melt into your mat, completely letting go, completely surrendering. Feel the back of the head releasing, the shoulders softening. You just stay here for a few moments in Shavasana. starting to deepen your breath. Slowly beginning to bring your awareness back to your fingers and your toes. Moving your ankles and your wrists. Eventually starting to find a bigger stretch, maybe a full body stretch with those arms reaching overhead or bending or straightening the knees, depending on where your legs were. And let this be your second chance to wake up today. So a really nice, gradual, peaceful wake up. Maybe there was an alarm clock involved with your first one. Let this one be gentler. Take your time. If you're still on your back, roll over onto your side, onto either side with the knees bent. Rest your head on your arm in a little fetal position. Take these last few moments here. Say thank you to yourself for starting your day in such a great way. And when you do this, you set the tone for your day. So noticing how you're feeling right now, I invite you and challenge you to hold on to that feeling as long as you can throughout this day. If things get a little busy or a little hectic or a little crazy, if you can tap back into the way you're feeling right now, because it's there inside of you, so you can go there again or bring that back whenever you need. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly start to make your way back up to a seated position if you're not sitting already. Bringing your hands to heart center. I am so grateful for all of you for joining me or letting me join you really on this Saturday morning. I hope you have the most beautiful weekend and a great week ahead until I see all of you next time. Namaste.